Hey everybody, this is Bob Cargill from Bob Cargill's Marketing Show. We are about 6 months, 7 months into this pandemic, this coronavirus crisis. It's been hard on all of us in so many different ways. I'm thinking of you, wishing you well. I am recording this today on September 30th, a Wednesday, from my home office, world headquarters of my own business, and I'm in Sudbury, Massachusetts, and it's a beautiful day outside, although I haven't gotten out to take advantage of it, but maybe after the recording of this episode of my podcast. And today I am so thrilled, so excited to be talking to someone who is not just a marketer, a fellow marketer, but also a comedian. And so maybe at some point during our conversation, she might share a few jokes with us. Her name is Caroline Cooke. She is an inbound consultant at HubSpot. And as I said, she's also a comedian. I met Caroline only about a year ago or so at a marketing mingle event, networking event, AMA, Boston, American Marketing Association, Boston chapter. We met, we hit it off in terms of our like-mindedness with regard to marketing. And then when I had my in-person event, Bob Cargill's Marketing Roadshow, Caroline was kind enough to perform a comedy routine for us, and she was ridiculously funny, and she's a ridiculously awesome human being. Everybody, meet Caroline Cooke. Hey, Caroline, so good to see you.
Hi, Bob. Thank you so much. That's a beautiful introduction. I'm so glad to be here on your podcast and to talk more about marketing and all the things that we both love about it.
Absolutely. We, as I said when we were pre-recording, I said, you know, we're going to focus more on marketing and social media than anything. But again, we can talk about your career as a comedian, and we can talk about life during this quarantine, and pretty much anything is fair game. But first of all, Caroline, I introduced you, but I didn't tell people everything about you, and maybe you could give us your elevator pitch if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Caroline Cooke. As Bob pointed out, I'm an inbound consultant here at HubSpot. I also have a company, Bright Humor, that is focused on merging marketing communications with humor to leverage it to be more effective. And then I'm also a stand-up comic. I am from West Philadelphia, born and raised, the suburbs out there. And then I moved to Boston from New York City last year, which is where I met Bob at an event at the American Marketing Association event. And since then, I've been 6 months at HubSpot and 6 months at home here in quarantine. So, and just, counting against the fridge of how many more days left.
Yeah, it's crazy for all of us, and some of us harder than others in terms of this living under quarantine. And it's so good that we have technology like this, Zoom, thank you, so we can see each other, Caroline, because human contact is so important. Just a little note, you said comic, I said comedian. Is comic the right term? Do people not say comedian?
I think the terms are interchangeable. It's a question I've Googled several times, so
no,
TBD.
I want to know the proper term. I like comic. You're a stand-up comic.
Comic, jester.
Yeah, you were extremely funny at our event, and I was so happy. What's the chance of me meeting someone in marketing? And my event was all about marketing, who I also wanted to fill the role of comedian. I had a singer, and I was looking for a comic, and geez, you came through so perfectly. You told jokes about marketing even. What could be better?
Oh my God, there's nothing I love more than just telling marketing jokes and talking about the industry. I feel like there's never been a better time, right? To talk about what's funny about our world and the weird quirks that exist with it. I think that it's this ever-changing industry that keeps us on our toes and keeps things exciting. So it was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It was awesome, and I had plans to do it again last spring, the road show part of my show, and obviously because of the pandemic we had to put things on pause. So I've been trying to up my game, if you will, virtually, and when this coronavirus crisis is behind us, I will be like a caged lion let loose in terms of getting out there and hopefully doing my road show again, and maybe you can be a comic again at that event, or speak about marketing, whatever, or combine jokes and education with regard to marketing.
I'm here for it. I like you, a cage lion coming out of quarantine. This has given me plenty of material to write about. I think that it's a weird world we're living in right now, which makes for great comedy, because what's funnier than weird?
Yes, if we don't laugh, we cry, because there can be some sadness and despondency too, along with us all having to hunker down. It can be lonely and it can be repetitive and mundane, but we make the most of it. Let's segue into the marketing part of the show. Tell everybody exactly what you do as an inbound consultant at HubSpot. HubSpot, by the way, a company I admire, respect, probably the first company I think of when I think of social media and marketing. You and all the employees there are amazing. I share posts from HubSpot's blog almost daily. I mean, I'm
Wow.
not kidding you. Oh yeah, I'm one of your most loyal readers of that blog, and I'm on Twitter all the time, and I'm always sharing content from the HubSpot blog, and have for years. But anyways, tell us what you do as an inbound consultant. What does that entail?
Yeah, it's I essentially am client-facing grand wizard of HubSpot. No, I'm kidding. What I do is I help our customers to use our CRM in a way that scales and helps their business to grow better. So that's HubSpot's main mission, is to grow better. So how do we grow better? It's how do we look at our sales, marketing, and service operations, and how do we integrate them in a way to we love our flywheel at HubSpot. If you haven't heard of that,
I know all about the flywheel.
We love the flywheel.
I saw the flywheel presentation at Inbound a year or two ago by none other than Mr. Brian Halligan.
Yes, absolutely. And in our lobby, when we were in the office, we had a massive flywheel. So we love talking about our flywheel. Is that your best? Who are the people who market best? It's your customers. It's the people who love you. That's what are the people that you want to drive your marketing efforts. And so, how do you delight across the customer experience? How do you communicate better? That's what I do as a HubSpot inbound consultant. So it's everything from high-level strategy all the way down to the tactical implementation of it, getting our hands dirty into what MarTech has become, which is beastly, for lack of a better word. It's just this massive ecosystem, which is as exciting as it is terrifying at times, as to all of what you can do to further drive business.
Caroline, it's funny, you describe what the MarTech world is beastly, and you don't know how long I've been in marketing, but it's 37 or so years now in this business.
I thought you were fresh out of college.
You are so kind to say that. I feel like I am. I feel like I could be. Let's put it that way, in terms of how I live my life mentally and physically. But fresh out of college was early 80s for me. And I was a copywriter, RCA direct marketing, my very first job. And my history in marketing, I've seen it evolve to the point where, yes, it has become beastly. It used to be simple. I mean, I used to just write. And then I became a creative director, and I got involved in the design portion of things. But obviously nowadays it's technology, it's this, it's that. We wear a multitude of hats as marketing professionals. And again, I think HubSpot probably is one of the iconic companies that identified where marketing was heading, and maybe even helped steer it in a certain direction. What do you think about what I'm saying there about HubSpot? Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we think about inbound marketing, we think about HubSpot, because that's where it began, with this whole philosophy that back at MIT, the classic story of HubSpot, how it came to be, was that it was the merging of brilliant minds between Dharmesh Shah, who is our chief technical officer, and then Brian Halligan, who's our CEO and president of the company. So how do you go about drawing people into your business with information? They really understood how the world of sales and how businesses were going to operate was going to evolve and shift towards what we see today, this growth of content marketing. And how do we drive people to our site? How do we give them knowledge and share information and enlighten individuals to the point that they want to work with our businesses. So HubSpot is very much the driver of that. So they've earned their title in that spot. And then even myself, looking at where my marketing career has evolved, when I first came to learning about marketing, it was HubSpot that I turned to. And so I went from becoming a reader of their blog and their material to attending Inbound to becoming a true fangirl of HubSpot. And now I'm so privileged to work for the company and to help our customers to grow better. So it's been a flywheel experience for me as well.
You are an amazing spokesperson for HubSpot. I mean, already I feel like I'm talking to, somebody who knows the company inside and out, and you're extremely articulate.
Thank you.
Brian and Dharmesh and the rest of the company, I'm sure already know that, but if they don't, all they have to do is listen to this episode of my podcast. You're really a great spokesperson for the company. And while you were talking about how HubSpot was founded, I was thinking of Jesse Eisenberg playing Mark Zuckerberg in the movie about Facebook and how that was founded at Harvard, and wondering when there'll be a movie about HubSpot and who might play Dharmesh and Brian, because that sounds like a story that needs to be told at a very high level. And because the company really is has broke new ground when they were founded, and continues to, don't they?
Absolutely, and even how they've grown. So I was just listening about how a lot of companies in this space have gotten there from just a massive amount of M&As, and HubSpot has developed a lot of our software within the company, and that has allowed us to really create this incredible platform that is just very seamless. It works together. It makes sense. It was developed very thoughtfully. And to your point, I would be first in line to buy a ticket to see that movie. And I think it would be as inspiring as it would be funny, because
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to speak with Dharmesh or Brian, but they are both very personable individuals. Yeah. They are both very funny. I, as a comic, find Dharmesh to be hilarious in what he posts on LinkedIn. So shout out to him.
I've seen Brian speak in person at Inbound, and Dharmesh, I've seen video of him speaking, and I apologize if I forget. It may have been in person. I feel like I've seen him in person, but that may have just been video. But I definitely remember Brian, because I think it was just a year or two ago I saw him. And yes, I know they're personable. I see them on social media. I know a little bit, about their lives. I mean, I'm a fanboy, if you will, of HubSpot. Sure. Have been for years, from a slightly different perspective than you, because again, it's more the blog and the content you guys put out, and being someone that embraced social media very early on. I got to know that company early on, I don't know, 15 years ago, whenever it was founded. I started my blog in 2004. It was a long time ago by blogging standards. I was an early adopter, and again, parallel with HubSpot's growth, I was growing my own business, or probably side business then, moonlighting, doing all this social media while I was doing mostly or a lot of traditional marketing for other companies. I was, blogging, then Twitter comes along, I'm tweeting, and then Facebook, hey, it opens up to adults, not just college students, so I'm doing that. I just live and breathe social media, and HubSpot, I would imagine that not a day goes by I don't either mention HubSpot, hear it mentioned, see them on social media. They're that prevalent in the industry, in the marketing world.
Yeah, they are amazing. And the team is, for as amazing of a brand, I have to say, joining the company is the team itself is incredible. I feel like they say there's you get a little bit of imposter syndrome joining HubSpot, because you can't believe that you're coming into such an incredible team. Like, how did they choose me? And like, what do I even have to offer? And like, I don't know anything. And it's my teammates and every colleague I work with continue to impress me with their intelligence, their empathy, their humbleness, their interest, and they have done an amazing job with the product. Reflects the people that are behind it. Is people who really are service focused. We talk a lot about our customers. All of us are people who are driven to drive success for our customers, and that's really at the heart of our mission, and it's really at the heart of every individual at HubSpot.
The product is a reflection of the people behind it, and you're one of those people. And yeah, I mean, they have high standards, and you meet, if not exceed, those standards, Caroline. I can tell you're no imposter. You're the real deal. Not
Most
even a
days.
question. What's that?
I said most days.
Yeah, well, every time I've talked to you and seen you, tell me about marketing in general. What you like most about marketing, maybe even what you don't like about it. Just curious in general. It can be HubSpot related, client related. What you see yourself as a consumer.
Yeah, and when it comes down to, if I were to distill it down to the broad speaking of the like and disliked, it would be the perfect split between right brain and left brain. So I love the creativity of marketing. I love how we are getting more clever in how we communicate, what we communicate, how we become more engaging of brands, and how we do it in a way that connects with our buyers and connects with other individuals as well, giving people something to talk about. I think that's really fun, really great. And how do we further personalize the experience of the buyer's journey? Those are the things that I love. I've always leaned into the communications, as you know, with the creative side, being a comic. I would consider myself kind of a communications. I don't want to say expert, because I feel like there's so much left to learn. But if I was going to say something that I wasn't driving expertise in, it's in the communications element. The thing I don't love is that how, at the speed at which innovation has driven marketing, has caused for so much technology, this huge technology boom. And I think I speak for a lot of marketers when I say it's really hard to keep up.
Mm-hmm.
How do we, I find myself talking about technical integrations, and how do you map, API endpoints, and these are conversations that used to just sit within IT, and now for marketers, from how do we design, how do we produce communications? I know personally I'm looking at, how can I get my voice out there more? Is it through a podcast? Is it through videos? Well, how do I even create these, you're competing against this high level of production value, and so we're all being forced to really educate at a very rapid rate ourselves on the technology elements. And even HubSpot, I was going to say, even HubSpot, that has put so much focus in our UX, is we still run across how do we keep it simple enough? I think we've done an amazing job at that, but the question becomes even more challenging as our industry continues to evolve.
Couldn't agree with you more. Perfect answer. I mean, I alluded, I'm a right brain guy, copywriter, creative director, then embraced social media early on, but I've always been a content creator. I've always been the professional rolls up his sleeves. It's a little chilly in here for some reason, so my sleeves aren't rolled up, but I roll them up and head down and do the work. So that's right brain in most cases. I'm writing content. I'm using video. I'm using, in this case today, a microphone, and so we're recording audio as well. But it's the creative side. But absolutely, yes, technology. So the plus is that technology has made it possible to communicate in many different ways and reach more people effectively, et cetera. But if you've seen a lot of my content, there's always this thread that the human side of communications is what I think is most important. So long way of saying, absolutely, I agree with you, Caroline, that it does come down to, the human connection, the one-on-one conversation, regardless of the medium. It needs to be person to person, and that connection, then activation, such that those on the receiving end want to respond favorably to your offer. There's my summation of what marketing is today. And if you can do that using technology, great, but I wouldn't overdo the technology part, because that can impersonalize it, depersonalize it, and to the extent where people are going to be frustrated and go somewhere else where they can actually speak to someone or see someone or just feel that it's a more human side of a brand versus automated message.
I love that. I really, Bob, you hit on the nail on the head, is that it's, how do you you focus on the principles, and that's something that I have a conversation about. It's this dichotomy between how do we use complex automation to simplify the user experience for the end user, but also getting caught in that nuances of all of that is that how do we pull it back and actually make sure that you're following best practices of the principles? Because the great thing about marketing is that those are the timeless elements of marketing that never change, is that it's about communication. How do you communicate? I've seen really complex workflows that have had terrible emails attached to them. And it's like, well, you can build a great lead nurture, structurally of if they open this email, then they get this email and stuff. But if your copy isn't connecting with the individuals, then it's all for nothing. So you can't automate your way away from the messaging aspect. That is still always going to be the most important part of marketing.
Not even a question. And I'll relate what you said to something we're all dealing with now. And I mentioned at the top of the show, and obviously, we're all, relatively speaking, under quarantine. We have the pandemic, the coronavirus crisis. And to me, that has brought to the surface for most people, and it should be all people, and when I say people, personally and professionally, that we do have to be much more considerate and listen more to others, support each other more. And the best brands and businesses, marketers and advertisers have months ago recognized that and have pivoted and changed up their messaging during this time. And hopefully that's going to stick to the point where we are realizing that the more personal, the better. Yeah, marketers, we have this arsenal of automation tools we can deploy at our disposal, but let's not forget. Let's see the forest for the trees, and let's not overlook the importance of just being human, because that's what people desire. And I think it's really surfaced more than ever during this pandemic, the human connection. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. Is that to your point, is that it's when we have that human connection removed that we realize how valuable it was all along, right? Is that we're all drilled into our phones, but now here we are, and it's like, okay, well, Zoom's great, but and it can be productive and effective at we can still have these conversations, but it doesn't take away the other elements of, HubSpot has an incredible office. I loved walking in every day to see the buzz and all the people walking around. And I can't say I didn't love the smoothie bar and the barista, but those things are small compared to the fact of I just really love being able to have those small interaction points with my colleagues. And we still have that on Slack, but it's not the same. And so to your point, how do we still connect with people on a personal level and step outside of what our products and services are and really get to the core of what is the human element we're solving for, and how can we connect with individuals on that?
There's a great book called Marketing Rebellion, written by Mark Schaefer, and I've seen him speak in person. He's a well-known speaker with regard to marketing, and I look up to him so much. And he has this manifesto in this book, and one of the points is the most human company wins. And I just love that statement, because I believe in that more than ever. And what's funny is a lot of my peers have seen how I've embraced technology and adopted early on social media, but I try to tell them it's just a different different mediums that I'm employing to still be personal and still be human. And every client I work with, I challenge them and encourage them to not forget the to put a face on your brand. And this is one of my lines: a face on your brand and a smile on your face. Because I think it's so important. It makes a difference. So show, do video, show pictures, show the people behind the scenes at the office, give people a look into how you do what you do, because then they get to know you, and then they trust you, and then they'll eventually do business with you.
I love that. And so what has not happened yet, and hopefully one day it never happens, is that there is no company that's run just by robots and automation. Not yet.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm sure it's coming down the road, but I don't want to be here for it. But the truth is that behind every company, every brand is a bunch of people. So we want to reflect that. You want to show the people, because that's what you're interacting with, is that you don't just sign up for HubSpot. You don't just sign up for, you sign up for us. You sign up for me, you sign up for my colleague, you sign up for Brian, you sign up for Darmesh, you sign up for our product team. And so it's important to understand who are the people behind it, who's even evolving, because, and understanding your buyer as well. And that's why we're so buyer focused, is that it's the buyer that we're evolving the product for.
Mm-hmm.
And so it should be reflected in how you're communicating. And I know maybe we'll talk on this later, but there is one brand that I love. I love Apple. Who doesn't love Apple? Like,
Of course. Yep.
How can you not? And it's like, it sounds like a cliche to always give the shout out to Apple, but why should we not give a shout to the legacy brands? I have my phone I forget what's like 95% of our waking time, our phone is within, inches. Where's yours?
It's right here. Yeah, of course. But
right,
it's not an iPhone
right
though. Forgive me. It's a Google Pixel. But my son is an Apple fan. Maybe both my boys are. And we always have this discussion. Of course, I love them as a brand. I just happen to be an Android guy and a PC guy. But keep going. I don't want to undermine your point about Apple.
Man, my little riff didn't prove as well. But they did a great campaign. I posted it on LinkedIn. You might have seen it. About they did this video, and I love it. Shows the direction of where marketing is going. Is doing this short little like episode, I don't know what you want to call it, of the whole work from home thing, and that's what they titled it, the whole work from home thing.
That's
and
classic,
that was so amazing, because I can't tell you how many. And they start out, how's the whole work from home thing going? And they make this great little video about the chaos and the kids screaming in the background, and like the deadlines and the teams trying to collaborate. And it just so perfectly captured where all of us are at. And in it, they weaved into the storyline how you can use the products that they have.
Yep.
And it doesn't even feel like an advertisement. It just feels like a movie, a little short,
they told the
sketch
story. They showed empathy. It was timely. So there's a perfect pivot during the pandemic. And of course, Apple, I mean, they're fantastic. I absolutely agree. Steve Jobs was a genius, and anything they do with regard to branding, and in this case, advertising, marketing, they absolutely are right on. I would say that's the creative right there, the copy, just whoever came up that line, the whole, work from home thing. It's speaking conversationally. It's not getting up on your high horse and using, jargon and $10 words. It's just speaking the way people talk. And
so did they come up with it, or did we? Right? Was it not just a reflection and a broadcast of the mirror of who? Because they didn't, like, even the best copywriter wouldn't have. It's just us time and time again. It's like, what if we just did a whole thing about the whole work from home thing?
It's perfect.
It shows that reflection of really understanding where people are at.
The other thing you mentioned that's key strategically is they didn't push the product overtly. And that's what I always tell my clients, and have been preaching on social media and my blog for many years. And that is, hard sell turns people off. Soft sells where it's at. If you're selling at all, it's almost like unmarketing or unadvertising. You put yourself out there, tell a story, incorporate your product, place your product. They used to call it product placement in movies. Now do it in your own advertising and marketing as though it wasn't intended. It's just, our product just happens to be there. But we got a great message, a great story. We're entertaining you, we're informing you, maybe we're helping you. And oh, by the way, if you like our product, if you like us, maybe buy our product. If you like us, you trust us, they're going to be more likely to take a shot on buying that product or service.
Yeah, absolutely. People love brands that they love. Brands should be the people we want to talk to at a networking event, at a cocktail party.
Right.
We want to be a beloved brand. And I think there's too much fear in like what that takes. Like, I don't want to be, take away from the mission and the message. You're not. Like, just be personable, relax.
Caroline, you and I are, I'm telling you, we could be, and we are today, a great team because we're like-minded in terms of how we look at marketing. I did a video once, I do a ton of videos, walking and talking.
Love your videos.
Thank you. Very kind of you to say. I do them all the time. I find different places I can do them. A lot of times in Boston, I can remember when I did this on Boston Common, and it was about branding and your brand. And I said, it's not what you say you are, it's what your customers say you are. And you have to listen to your customers and be aware what they're saying about you. And that's why social media, I think, is so important, because you can take the pulse of your constituents, your audience, get to know what they think of you. And if that's in alignment with what you say you are, great. If it's not, maybe what they're saying about you will cause you to make some adjustments and tweaks and look at yourselves in the mirror and say, hey, we need to evolve. We need to change. We need to recalibrate.
Yeah. And social media brings forward a very interesting place for brands, because we go back to that. There's the brand and then there's the people. And the brand is obviously the marketing team kind of pulls it together and makes the face of, well, this is our brand. But there's also with social media is we have a lot of the individual constituents, employees, stakeholders within a company speaking as well. And so everyone has their own individual voice. I post stuff on social media. My colleagues post stuff on social media, talking about marketing, talking about our brand, sharing HubSpot things. And we have, obviously there are some things that HubSpot never sends me like a message saying like, you need to send this or say this. It's more of like, here's something that we've like created. And you can, as you know, there's a gazillion things you can share about HubSpot. So
yes,
it's really what speaks to me. But social media now has become a place where there's so much communication taking place, and how do brands, when they look at how to drive their impact on social media, is it's not just through their company's LinkedIn page or their company's Facebook page. That's just one element of how you can build a brand. And you're not just talking brand to brand, you're talking to people. So how is it brand to people versus people to people? And so it's made for kind of a wild west out there across these different, and I got TikTok out there. We're going to make dances, like what are we going to do, and how do we want to communicate to get our message across?
Totally. And, cut through the clutter, rise above the noise and break through, so that, you are making that connection that results in a mutually beneficial relationship. And again, I think it's more the human side. I mean, in doing social media for myself as well as my clients, I automate some of it, but I absolutely do get in there on a daily basis and manually place content and create content, sometimes on the fly. And that's where I get the biggest bang for the buck on behalf of my clients and myself. The more I can add some personality to it. So if I'm doing work for a client, I want to share their blog posts and talk about how great they are, leveraging some of the highlights I find on their website. But I want to get quotes from them. I want to get pictures. I want to get video, because again, as you said about HubSpot, a brand, a business, and the products and services it has to offer, all that's only as good as the people behind the scenes. And that is who your audience wants to see and interact with in the long run. Ultimately, we think about when you go to a store or call up customer service, it's that relationship you develop with the person you're talking to that usually leads to the sale. It's not necessarily just the product or service. It's someone that you connect with that ultimately results in that sale.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's always going to be the case that it's the people that we trust more than just a faceless brand. So there always has to be your spokespeople for your brand, and people from getting customer testimonials. Is it's one thing to have, all right, we helped this brand achieve this, versus saying Rachel from this brand has this to say about how we helped her to achieve X, Y, and Z at her business. And there's a real difference there in terms of the extra value of being able to say, there's a person behind this. We just connect with other humans more than we're going to connect with a brand at its core. So now comes back to, you have the stakeholders and different influencers, and in a company where you've got a lot of brilliant minds and a lot of eager people out there talking on social media and sharing on social medias, now you have a ton of little micro influencers out there who are reflective. When I share something on LinkedIn, is it might not always be about HubSpot. It definitely isn't, because I'm not just HubSpot. I have all these other elements to who I am. But am I representative of an individual? And that's why the recruiting teams have more pressure on them than ever before in terms of recruiting the right people who are going to be good representations of your brand. And it's certainly something that does cross my mind as I post things is, am I representing the brand from Bright Humor to myself and being true to who I am to HubSpot? Am I posting things that I think would make all these that I'm proud of and are reflective in the right places?
No, absolutely. The employees, corporate culture plays an important part in the people you hire. They have to be the right fit, and vice versa. And they have to be mindful, like you're pointing out, of the fact that they're representing the company. And nowadays with technology, sure, we are encouraged, that's employee advocacy, to post on behalf of our companies. We don't have to in most cases, but it's great if we do. And we also are posting some personal content. And so that's your personal brand. That's thought leadership. It could be just simple things like your pet, or your dog or cat, or what you do on the weekend with your friends or family. But everything all cobbled together, bundled up is our personal brand. And companies are looking at that. I tell people that I coach and counsel, sure, be yourself. And I don't hesitate personally, I don't hesitate to share a lot of personal things, but I'm always mindful that, my clients might be out there, my colleagues or former clients might be out there. Will they look, favorably on what they're seeing? And I'm always hoping and believing that they will, because that's a personal brand. And so I'm going to segue into a question, and you touched upon it. Your personal brand, Caroline. You mentioned your other company, Bright Humor. You can mention that a little. I'd love to hear you talk about that a little, and also your side gig, if you will, as a comic. What is your personal brand? How do you use social media to put it out there on a regular basis?
Yeah, and that's a great question, and something that I've been revisiting as well. When I created Bright Humor a couple years ago at this point, I was thinking about what was that brand to me. And it was before I had started Bright Humor, I had been working in marketing, and I was working in fintech and helping that brand Cashable to drive their marketing efforts and their brand positioning within the market, and how to give themselves a voice, and using humor as that element to really stand out. And it was effective. Before that, I had been doing some copy. And so I had started to work in this idea of, okay, well, I really like this angle of being using humor in marketing. And I loved this crosshairs of who my personal brand was with my professional brand. And not only did it work for me, but I feel like it works for brands in general, is that we are moving towards being more human brands. We are moving more towards infotainment. So how do we merge entertainment with information? And there's more of a need to create more engaging content that really draws in your audience. So that was where that started. And then with creating Bright Humor is really giving the final personality of it. And I came down to it's professional meets playful. And I would say that is my personal brand, is I am I am, a strategist by day. I'm doing consulting calls. I like to consult. I like the Rubik's Cube of figuring things out. People come to me personally with different questions that they solve for. So I've always had that element. The business side of me has always been there. And then this other playful, fun side of myself of the fact that life is too short to keep, to be so serious. And not only that, but that humor is not just it has a function. It's the vehicle of a message. It's how do we get a message from point A to point B without all these walls coming up and people being so standoffish. So that is, I'd say with my stand-up is also the bright humor element is I like to keep it bright and light. That doesn't mean that I don't touch on topics that don't come with a zinger, that don't come with an edge. I feel like that's necessary. It's a necessary part of humanity, is that there is both dark and light. And that dichotomy is what keeps the world running, is that there's just like a movie, there's always a villain, there's always you have the protagonist and the antagonist. And so, but the idea of, I want people to feel happy, and I want to bring out the best in people, and I want to bring out a fun element that's light and is joyful versus harsh and critical. And that's me.
Will you run for president?
Oh my God, I'm not, no.
Yeah, we're not going to go there, but after last night's debate, bright and light is what this world needs.
I know, I have a stand-up show to know. I'm like, I don't know.
It's not too late for Caroline Cooke to run for president, and she gets my vote.
I'm not eligible yet.
When you're eligible.
When I'm eligible, we'll see where I'm at.
Enough. Unfortunately, it can't be soon enough. But no, seriously, the bright and light. Jesus! Underscore, exclamation mark, bold letters, all caps. I couldn't agree more. It's the fundamental of human communication. I think of Dale Carnegie's, you're not eligible to run for president, so that you're telling me you're of a certain young age, I'm of a certain old age, and now I'll really underscore that point, because I know this book and you may not. Dale Carnegie, it was written even before I was born. What's that?
I know who Dale Carnegie is.
Yeah. This was written 1940, 1950, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yes.
And humor, I don't know if it was in his book, but I imagine it was touched upon, is such a big part of how we engage and connect and win each other's favor. So I would imagine your life as a comic and the fact that you are a humorist and you are a great communicator, that has to be something that you can use in your favor personally and on the job. I mean, yeah.
Totally, not to cut you off there, but I wrote in an article once upon a time, blog, a piece of mine is that humor is when you deliver it with a feather instead of a sledgehammer, you have much better results. And with
Again, I'm sorry, I'm still thinking of last night's debate.
Yeah, and so
it was all sledgehammers, wasn't it?
It was all sledgehammers, and it was some brutal ones. And so the truth is that to innovate, we have to criticize and we have to evaluate. Yeah. And so we have, not related to that debate, because that was just a complete disaster. I tweeted, a comic needs to moderate the next debate, and I do not volunteer. But
although I think you could, and I love Chris Wallace, but I think you would have done a better job than he did last night. It just was all around a disaster. I mean, from how it was moderated to the two candidates, anyways, I'm sorry, I'm interjecting.
Oh no, I agree. I take a lot of comedy gigs. I don't know if I would take that one. I think I'd rather do an open mic than to do that. But
even if it paid $1 million, you wouldn't take that job?
That'd be the worst. That'd be the worst gig imaginable. Yeah, it'd be like a poor Chris Wallace. Hopefully he's doing okay today. My thoughts go out to him. But yeah, so we have to criticize and we have to add in elements. And so when you deliver it with a feather instead of a sledgehammer, is that when you do it with a sledgehammer, is the walls go back up. People, because you're not delivering it in a way that when you deliver the truth in a funny way with a feather, is that you're keeping people's minds open to it, and you're doing it in a way that's tactful. And so how can you use humor tactfully versus doing it really aggressively? And
Yeah.
if you go on, you'll find I have stand-up clips online and stuff. Don't go looking for them. But like the point is, like, with any comic, you're going to, any thought leaders, there's going to be criticism out there. Am I perfect representation of joy all the time? I think no. Ellen, no. But like, you know, not,
Right.
no one's ever all the time joyful. But when we can think about what is our goal of our communication and how we want people to feel walking away after hearing it, I always run my comedy through the lens of, if the person I'm talking about is here, how would they feel walking away from it? Would it be brutal? Is it the truth that they need to hear, that they don't want to hear? Or is it, could I go about doing it in a little bit nicer of a way?
Well, when we're done and we are slowly winding down, I'm going to walk away feeling really good about this conversation, Caroline.
Me
You
too.
made me laugh, you made me smile, and I just have a really good light and bright feeling in my heart, which I really needed after last night's debate. Besides last night's debate, what is this total unmarketing related question, unless your answer somehow goes back towards marketing. Besides last night's debate, what is the funniest thing you've seen, either on TV, a movie, a comedian? It could even be, you know, something you've done yourself. Anything funny you want to specifically talk about?
So I don't know if I would qualify that as funny versus scary. And that's,
Oh,
I think, the teetered line of last night, what that it says. So the funny, I love Netflix specials. So that would be, you know, are we talking about intentional funny or just like,
anything. Oh, it's a total open-ended question about, you know, you mentioned Ellen. I mean, any comedian, any comic, any movie
oh,
that
I thought it
stands
was
out.
funny. This wasn't this is marketing. I tie it back to marketing. So Ellen in her opener for her 18th season, after
Yes,
all of these allegations came out,
yes,
she
yes.
came out in like a white shirt and like a white blazer and like gave her apology. And I thought that that was such a like marketing move of like renewal and like light. And it was like, but
Interesting.
Ellen, no one goes through a
Yeah.
personal transformation. That it just was funny to me because it had that, like, the marketer in me saw like right through it. I was like, that is.
Well, so, and I love Ellen. I didn't, you know, I've only read headlines and tweets maybe about the like you say, the allegations and also about her apology. I heard mixed reviews on the apology, and maybe that right there is part of those mixed reviews, meaning was it not, did it not come across as 100% transparent and sincere? Can I ask you that question?
Yeah, so I think that Ellen felt. I wrote an article while back on the four. God, now I'm
And
blanking on them.
sincere, maybe, of course it was sincere, because we know Ellen. Was it 100% effective? Could she have, well, what was it 100% sincere, and was it 100% effective? What could she have done differently to prove both?
Yeah, so the sincerity of it comes from taking personal responsibility. I think she did, in some ways, did that well. I think in other ways she didn't do as wonderful on that. I think one thing that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way was using levity in the wrong spot. And
Mm,
so there's four different humor styles that are out there. You have the affiliative humor, aggressive humor, self-deprecating, and self-enhancing humor. And so self-enhancing humor is where I say it's meant to enhance yourself and to make you feel better about a bad situation. The problem is that you can't use it if you're not the person. So I'll give you an example of self-enhancing humor is that I was laid off on my 25th birthday, but at least I got to leave early to celebrate. Right. And so
yep.
like that's me making like a silver lining of it.
Yeah,
Now imagine HR comes out and says, we just laid off a bunch of people, but good news is less birthdays to remember next month.
that's a really good example. Right. That's not funny with that HR
It's
is
not funny
saying
at
that.
all
Right.
because it's not, you're trying to make that person, you're trying to make light of it.
Yep.
Ellen was not the one who was hurt in this. The only thing that was hurt
Right.
by her was her reputation for the actions. So for her to come out and make jokes and make light of it was taking self-enhancing humor when really she's speaking on behalf of people that, like, maybe if she brought out some people who worked for her and they made those jokes, then it would be funny. But she was taking that levity of trying to make light of something that wasn't her pain. That didn't help her.
Caroline, that's a brilliant dissection. I don't know if you put that out there anywhere, but you know,
I have. I can send you the articles.
Yeah, I mean, it
Well,
absolutely.
not of Ellen, but of that
Type of humor. Well,
yeah.
And knowing that, first of all, it's brilliant. I who knew, but you would, that there are 4 types of humor. I guess if you're a comic, you would. I never knew. I just laugh.
Just a nut. This is someone who really wants to break it down.
I just think humor, if it makes me laugh, that's humorous. There's 4 types. Okay. And she, of all people, she should know, and the people behind the scenes should have known. And she had all summer to prepare for that. So she needs someone like you in her corner. I mean, you are multi-skilled and then some, not even a question.
She'd have to serve up a better apology if she wanted to hire me.
Well, yeah, that's wow, look at that. That's powerful.
Well, and I got to say, Ellen really, for a while, really looked up to Ellen in that bright and the light thing. So it definitely dug at me really extra hard for the fact that I am not perfect. I'm sure I've hurt people and said remarks that were not, take everyone who's ever tried to be funny runs that line. So I'm not going to say I'm perfect. There are some things I agree with her. It's tough to be in that position. And that's why I brought up earlier that I don't want to position myself like Ellen as the always bright and light, because you put yourself in a really hard category of always being perfect. I think she was spot on about that. That is a very hard spot to sit in. But there's a difference between having off days and having two-faced personality. And that to me was really struck me the wrong way. I'm not surprised by it. You see a lot of it in the entertainment space. You see a lot of it at the C level. You see a lot of it of people who are of power and influence. And I understand it comes with pressures of the job, but to ignore the people who got you there and to chronically have this personality, it's going to take more than one apology to get there. And she's done a lot of great things, but if it's all for the fact that you don't treat the people around you well, it's just, I don't know, it really struck me.
You just said a multiple, Caroline, and we didn't rehearse this. I don't know. I have some notes over here, and bringing up Ellen was not one of my prepared questions. And you are an expert on, what this topic. And I mean, if I was CNN or any of the late night talk shows, I mean, I would want you as a guest to be on my show, and hey, I'm Bob Cargill's marketing show, and you are a guest on my show.
I'm so honored to be a guest on your show.
Well, you're just getting started, because there are many rungs in the ladder, and you're going to go to the top of the ladder, and whichever field you choose, or a combination of these fields, because you're extremely astute and very critical mind, but also light and bright, and what a great combination.
Well, thank you. And if I can just add to this of the two-face, I'd like to just speak, not to plug HubSpot again, I know I'm the worst, but is that coming into HubSpot, we talk all about authenticity. And I will tell you, the leadership that I have seen, there is no two-faced side of that leadership. From what and I think I'm a pretty good judge of character. I'm one who really is observational. And that's what makes me a comedian, as I see people and how they interact, and I see what they're doing. And Dharmesh and Brian, they stand in line just like everyone else to get their lunch, and they are more than friendly. And if you stop them on the hallway to ask them a question, they would never I have never heard of any bad stories in that way. And so that is what leadership looks like when it's authentic. And that means that they also put out there their quirks and their flaws, and they put them out there for everybody. And so I am lucky to work for a company that only further reinforces why it's so important to be authentic, and that being authentic, warts and all, is going to get you further than trying to be two-faced.
Being authentic, warts and all, is going to get you further than being two-faced. I couldn't agree more. And applause for Dharmesh and Brian, and big applause for Caroline. You have been awesome today. I am thrilled out of my mind to have had you as a guest today. I want to end with, and I'm sorry, we do have to end. Time we're up
You can
against
talk
the clock.
forever. Bob, I talked to you forever.
We can do this again. And I want to talk to you again, whether it's on my podcast or just in real life. Maybe, once this pandemic is behind us. Yeah,
if we're
we can
allowed.
do coffee from a social distance.
Yes.
Or a beer or a glass of wine, whatever. Tell people how they can reach you if you want them to reach you, and on social media or anywhere. How can people you should want to reach Caroline, and this is how you can reach her.
Yes. So the best way is by carrier pigeon. But if you don't have one of those at your disposal, then you can reach out to me. You can reach out to me at caroline@brighthumor.com. That's the easiest for my email. And then you can find me on social media at Caroline Cooke 23 is my social handle.
Are you available, seriously, because you came and did a ridiculously awesome comedy routine at my event. Are you available for hire? Are you doing this comedy on a semi-regular basis?
Yeah, so I do comedy regularly. If you're interested in booking me for any kind of corporate event, I am more than happy to do that. I can also work with producing a show, so can bring in other comics as well. We can talk about what your industry is, what you like to talk about. I am willing to make jokes about pretty much anything. So if I've written jokes about schema markup and all sorts of different things. So happy to connect and if you need help getting your brand to a place where you want to leverage humor and take advantage of that and to give a little bit more personality to your brand, happy to help you with that as well.
You do it all, Caroline, and thanks for contributing so much to my podcast today. Folks, you've been listening to Bob Cargill's Marketing Show with Caroline Cooke. She works at HubSpot. She's a comic, and she's a ridiculously awesome human being whom I am very lucky to have had as a guest on my show today. Again, this has been Bob Cargill's Marketing Show, and I will see you, and you will listen to me, hopefully, again soon. We'll see you again. We'll talk again. Thanks, everybody, for listening and watching.
Thank you, and thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Caroline.